Thank you for listening to Hustle and Heart. I'm your host, Edie Weintraub. Today, we're excited to introduce Chef Jo Garcia, the culinary mastermind behind Chef Jo Dining. Chef Jo is versatile and innovative private chef offering a range of services from catering to personalized meal plans. Chef Jo, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. What an introduction. You have a silky voice.
Oh, thank you. That's so
Great.
sweet.
Yeah.
Well, tell us about your journey. What would you like our listeners to know about you?
So, I don't know, should I start from the beginning or should I just kind of like explain what I do on a day-to-day basis?
All of the above.
Okay, so I'm Jo, obviously. My real name is Johnny, but I go by Jo. And I've been in the culinary industry since 2011. I was fortunate enough to go to a high school that was a career-based high school. So I got to do 4 years of nutrition studies, restaurant management, culinary arts, and I got my degree alongside my high school diploma when I graduated. And then after that, funnily enough, I did not want to be a chef. I actually was like, oh, I like cooking, it's fun, but it's not something that I see myself doing in the long run. I always knew I wanted to help people. And ever since I was younger, that's always been like a really big passion of mine, is just taking care of others and, just being a helpful hand. So when I went to college, straight out of high school, I dabbled in a lot of different things. Nothing really stuck. And then the pandemic hit in 2020. Oh my God, it's been so long. And from then I lost my job, unfortunately. I was working at Spiral Diner, which is a vegan diner. And I also was just in school part-time. So it was just something that, I had to drop because of COVID. So I lost my job and then I dropped out of school, unfortunately. And I was just at home every day cooking and like experimenting with things. At the time I was vegan, and I just decided, I had been thinking for a while about starting my own business with cooking and doing meal preps, because I already meal prep for myself, and other people were asking all the time, like, hey, can you meal prep for me? And so I eventually was like, you know what, now's the time. I mean, I'm at home all the time. I don't have anything that I'm doing right now. I think I only had maybe $1,000 to my name, and that's being like very generous. So with that money, I decided, I'm gonna start a business page. I'm gonna start posting like, hey, if anybody wants this. I remember her, and I will always cherish her as being my first customer. And she had faith in me. I cooked for her sister that week, and then they loved it. And from there, I just started building like my portfolio and my catalog of meals. So the next week I was like, okay, I'm going to post a menu and see how people react and see how many people order. I got 54 orders. And so that was crazy. And I was like, I didn't realize people would be into this. Okay. So then that week I cooked, which was probably one of the hardest weeks ever for me, because I mean, you go from just making a couple meal preps to now you're making 54 meals. And so I was, a one-woman show. I'm doing all this by myself. I don't know what I'm doing. And I just know that I'm really passionate about it. And I just have like a feeling that this is my calling. So it just kept multiplying as the weeks went on. And all of 2020, I spent just perfecting my craft, fine-tuning a lot of like my skills as a chef, and kind of reawakening that culinary spirit that I had when I was in high school, and revisiting a lot of things. And it just kind of blew up. Like I started, doing things in the community starting the next year when things started opening up from the pandemic. Dallas, Fort Worth, Grand Prairie, just getting connected with a lot of people in the community doing great things and doing lots of pop-ups. Did my first catering event out of town. And it just kept growing. Like, I made a website. Like all these things just started falling into place. And of course I hit some plateaus along the way. And, even now to this day, I will say that this industry is definitely very multifaceted. There's a lot of different avenues and routes you can take. So it is a little intimidating because you're kind of forced to put yourself into a box sometimes. Like, do you want to be a private chef? Do you want to be a caterer? Do you want to be this? Do you want to be that? But like, I want to be all of it. And so I am currently operating as a private chef. So I have a number of customers that I work with each week. I make menus for them that's based on what's seasonally available and locally sourced. And I work with people who are trying to heal different ailments that they're, currently going through. And it's just such a fulfilling job. Like I don't even think of it as a job. I think of it as just like something that I'm meant to do, something that I'm here to do. And like I learn every day. I feel like I'm playing in the kitchen. I feel like an artist. I feel like a healer. It's just great. And I'm going back to school actually now, because I have some, little free time available because I'm just doing private chef services. So I'm going back to continue my studies in nutrition, and hopefully I'll be able to offer even more to my clients in terms of being more accurate with like how to approach certain illnesses and things like that, because food is healing. It all starts there.
Well, and it's so beautiful that you shared that part of the story is that food is medicine and your integration of, herbalism and sourcing locally. It's hysterical. Actually, I need to send you the podcast that we did with Wayne Swanson. He's a farmer here in Georgia, and he had someone who had his beef from his cattle, and they
Mhm.
live in Denver, Colorado. And he said, Farmer Wayne, can you send me some of that beef? And Farmer Wayne said, no, I will not. It is important to eat where you live so that you are connected to the community that you're in from a health and weather standpoint. And it made me laugh because, this guy's like, I love your beef, but he said, I'm going to do something better for you. I'll get you connected to farmers locally in Colorado that you can source there that will truly nourish your soul. So I applaud you for sourcing locally and, really taking care of folks where they are.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% believe in eating locally. And I feel like when we talk about environmental stresses and things like that, just like the changes that we're going through, weather changes, a lot of it also comes back to supporting locally and supporting local farmers because, there's just when our bodies eat what's local and what's seasonally available, we also receive like lots of benefits to our health. But I love that.
Made me so happy. I mean, kind of sad and
Yeah.
very firm, right, in his
Yeah,
beliefs, but
yeah.
I think it's so meaningful. So, share with us an example of how you've incorporated perhaps some of your cultural heritage into the dishes that you make and how that comes
Yes.
through.
Okay. So I was actually born here in Texas in Arlington, but I consider myself like very Chicano, like Chicana. I don't know, like I grew up very like Texan, but also at the same time very connected to my Mexican roots. So we had things like picadillo growing up, like things like not very traditional, but like what was available, what's cheap, like we can feed more people with beans, things like that. So I will say when I first started Herbiveats, it was, well, now it's Chef Jo Dining. So when I first started this, I was completely vegan. So my main purpose was to kind of show how we can have vegan options and vegan food that is similar to what we grew up eating. So I would make a lot of like vegan enchiladas, flautas, tacos, quesadillas, like different things like that. And it was so much fun getting to experiment. And yeah, like cashew cheese, like maybe just like putting your own spin on it, adding like adobo and different things like that. But now that I'm not vegan, which I was for 5 years, but just for personal reasons, I ended up incorporating quality animal meat back into my diet. Um, Now that I'm doing that and I'm offering those services to my clients, I feel like the sky is just the limit. Like the sky is not the limit actually. There is no limit to like my skills as a chef. I'm able to elevate kind of different meals that I grew up eating. Like recently I did a private dinner at Profound Foods Micro Farms, and I had the pleasure of working with a lot of other chefs that were really just esteemed, and it was just such an honor. And I, for that dinner, cooked a guajillo braised short rib, and then I did a carrot puree with sunflower shoots and cilantro micros and salsa macha. And so that's another way that I think I can incorporate like my heritage is just taking things like chile guajillo, which is traditionally used in like Mexican cooking. And so you rehydrate those chiles and then you can kind of do a braised short rib. That's not something you see all the time. So it's just about, remembering where you came from and incorporating it with where you are now, and just kind of hopefully it's seamless and it's just fun. It's fun getting to experiment. I don't think anybody, understands how fun it is. So it's fun.
Yes, I agree. I know I'm continually fascinated by learning about different cultures and different cuisines. So long as it doesn't have a high spice level, I will try anything, right? Like I've had rabbit, I've had turtle, but I got to go mild on the spice.
I've never had rabbit or turtle. I can't say I have.
Got to spend a little bit more time in like New Orleans.
Yeah, actually.
Turtle, alligator. Yeah.
I have been wanting to go there. I know that the food over there is just insane. So I have yet to experience it, but hopefully I will in the near future.
We might have an opportunity to meet there, right? I'm in Atlanta, you're in Dallas. Let's, meet halfway.
I would love that. We can go on a little food tour.
I actually have had a couple of people request that of me because schedule something for lunch, schedule something for dinner, and just kind of dig into the traditions and the customs of that area. You learn so much by the folks that are making food there.
Absolutely. Like Anthony Bourdain, I've known about him for so long, but I just recently got into watching his show with my partner, and like I'm just watching and I'm just like so mesmerized by how he, like goes, and he doesn't tour, he travels. So he gets to know like the locals. They teach him about the culture and like what they eat and, their customs. And it's just wonderful. Like that's something that I think I'm really inspired by him. I think he's like my number one inspiration, person that I look up to.
A phenomenal storyteller. I completely agree. I've watched every show. I've read every book, phenomenal in terms of pulling it all together to see how it kind of rounds out a community.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Tell us a little bit more about an influence or a mentor in your journey. Where did this love and passion for serving others through food come from?
Oh goodness. I feel like I didn't have one singular person. It was just so many people along the way that have just sculpted me to be who I am now. My mom, I would say, she just is such a rock in my life. I really dedicate a lot of my success and like who I am as a person to who she is. She grew up and basically just she raised us to always believe in ourselves and to always shoot for the stars and not limit ourselves to anything. And she was one of the people that pushed me to really like start this because she believed in me and she saw something maybe that I didn't. And my dad as well. I mean, he's firm. He's very stoic. Sometimes, like, I think some dads are, but he definitely was a really big pillar in, also helping me, financially, for helping me, letting me be able to use their kitchen in the beginning stages of my career, for things that I needed to do. And just like always being, a voice of reason to kind of fall back on. My family members, I would say my grandma, just watching her cook growing up in the kitchen, just like making things from scratch, selling tamales. Like it's crazy. Like a lot of different people in my life have influenced who I am, but I can't really say I can dedicate it to one person. I did also have a really great experience in high school. I had a chef Hamilton, and he was great. We looked at him as a father figure throughout the last 2 years when we were in the kitchen, like a commercial kitchen, and he definitely helped us to like find our way and find our footing and like who we were as a chef. Helped us, through every different avenue that we explored. And yeah, and I don't know. I think I hope that no one's feeling bad if I left them out. Like there's just everybody I would say has helped me in some way along the way or inspired me, and that's why they're in my life. I love keeping people around me that are constantly, pouring into me as much as I am them. So it's great to be here and see how far I've come and talk about it.
Absolutely. Well, it's so interesting as I've curated food halls, as I've talked to chefs, the most enjoyable thing that they like is seeing the reception of the diner on after having their food. So whether it's an empanada or it's a cheesesteak, just getting that joy back is so fulfilling. So I appreciate that. Well, and even Anthony Bourdain, it apparently has been a
Yeah.
big influence in your life as well.
Yes, huge. Okay, so I will say
Yeah.
him, but I was just talking about the people I know.
Yes. Of course.
Him for
No.
sure, for sure.
Yes.
Yes.
So, how do you stay inspired as you're continually looking for new inspiration? What fills your bucket?
So I watch a lot of influencers online, like content creators, and however people feel about content creators and influencers is, like their prerogative. But I personally view like content creation as an art. And there's some people that I follow on TikTok named Chuck and Haley. They're a couple, and they cook every Friday. They are always like doing different videos and cinematography and adding music and different shots and angles and food ideas and incorporating their own culture. And it's just so inspiring to watch. And I really love getting on TikTok because I've curated my algorithm to just be like mostly food and, herbal things and just wellness and things like that. So I'm always getting inspired even when I'm just doom scrolling on the internet. So it's nice to have that to look at any time that I really want to. But other than that, I try to find inspiration in little things too. Like when I go out to eat, I look at the menu, I feel the atmosphere that I'm in, and I'm like, okay, what would I change about this? Or like, what do I appreciate about this? And I try to look at it from like a experiencer standpoint, because eventually I would ideally love to have a cafe and maybe make that like a communal hub of some sort. So that's still in the works, but as of right now, I'm just constantly trying to take in and see and build from kind of behind the scenes and see like how would I do this? What would my approach be with this? I also get a lot of inspiration from music. Music is a huge part of my life. So yeah, I think just everything in general is really, you just have to find the little things and get inspired with that.
Really new. Thank you for sharing that. So, if someone is listening and they're looking to get into either private chefing, catering, maybe having their cafe one day, what advice would you offer given your current path?
I would say just do it, because I feel like I was a person that I thought about it for years. I was like, oh, I can't do it. Like, I don't know who would buy for me. I don't know how I would start. I don't know where I would go. Like, it was always just like a constant, like I shouldn't jump. I don't want to jump. And eventually when I just did it, everything fell into place. Obviously, you want to go into it prepared too. So like that is a good thing, to research maybe more about the road that you're trying to take. If you know anybody who else is doing that, like maybe reach out to them and ask for some advice on how they did it. Of course, you want to have your food handlers. You want to have, your food managers. You want to make sure that you have all those credentials in line too. And, just find something that, inspires you. Someone told me once that if you look at the people that you most, love in your life, or like the people that are inspiring you online and things like that, you should take inspiration from that. Obviously don't copy, just be yourself, but you should definitely take inspiration from that, because there's a reason that you're being called to whatever that is. And you really just, you owe it to yourself to explore that and to not squander any talents that you may have harvesting inside of you. So yeah, squandered talent is just, it's not going to go anywhere. You need to use it. You have it for a reason.
I loved your fun play on words too. You should be harvesting, which
Oh
is
yeah.
connected to farming and food and all of that. No,
Yes.
it's beautiful. It
I'm
all
so
comes back
passionate about it.
together.
Yes.
So, what do you do for fun?
Ooh. Okay. So obviously, honestly, it sounds crazy, but I do love cooking for fun as well. Like people are like, "Do you ever get tired of cooking?" And I'm like, "No, I don't." Like I love cooking for friends and family. But I also really love, like I said earlier, music is something that's really pivotal in my life, and it kind of just helps me, like, get loose, shake off stressors from my day or whatever that may be. So I go to a lot of festivals with friends. I go to a lot of like music, like shows and things like that. Specifically, like house and techno, I think is is a really big part of my life. I love music. It was probably one of my first loves alongside of cooking. Um, and yeah, I do that. I am going back to school, so obviously I'm interested in learning about nutrition and specifically horticulture. I love volunteering with local farms. I used to volunteer at the state fair with the local farm, and so we did like a lot of hydroponic farming and harvesting, and that was a lot of fun. And yeah, just doing things in the community, supporting locally, getting to know like people who are also doing the same thing that I am, and just having fun. Like I don't know, I don't drink actually, so that's not something that I feel like I have to do. I used to go out more, but I want to like show people that fun doesn't always have to revolve around, oh, like let's go to this club, or like let's go to this bar. Like let's go do other things and do things that are good for our health. And yeah, it's nice.
Hence the rise of wellness, right? I mean, taking care of your body, being out in nature, etc. And
Yeah.
I mean, if you look across the board at every restaurant, they're all having a massive surge of mocktails, right? People want a pretty drink, but they don't need the alcohol. They'd rather maybe splurge a little bit on dessert instead. Just me.
Absolutely.
I'd rather splurge on dessert.
Yeah, me too. I'm actually becoming more of a dessert person. I will say, like, beginning, like, I guess, first half of my life, if you want to say that, I didn't really like dessert. And now I find myself, like, I eat, like, 2 cookies after every meal. I have to have 2 cookies. And, like, I don't know what it is, but I don't know. I'm enjoying this new part of my life. And also, like, I'm not the greatest at patisserie. So it is nice to, I'm starting to dabble in that more, starting to cook more or bake more. So yeah, that's fun.
I did a 9-month stint in raw, and going into raw desserts was how I got hooked.
That's
I was just trying to
amazing.
be healthy, but doing raw is very time consuming. So
Yeah.
I ended up doing like cacao powder and dates and avocado, and it was like creamy and wholesome and delicious. But that's how raw pulled me in, is with desserts.
That's amazing. I tried to be raw vegan for a while. I said I was vegan for 5 years, but tried to be raw and I tried to be alkaline. I've honestly gone through every diet you can possibly imagine, and that was one of the hardest ones, was raw and alkaline. That's oof.
It was, it's good to test yourself, see what you're capable of and how it affects your body. It kind of allows you to step back and pull things out, and
Mhm,
then kind of slowly institute back in really what you need. Like you said, you added animal protein back in.
mhm.
I love bison, so I started like incorporating bison back in. So we all find what works for us.
Yeah, absolutely. There's actually, since you said you love bison, I don't know if you go to Sprouts, but there's this brand called Force of Nature that I think everyone should be aware of. It's like they have ground up beef organs or like bison organs, chicken organs, and things like that. And it's just like in a ground meat, and it's so good for you. It has liver, kidney, heart, some other options. I know vegans are probably listening to this like, what is she saying? But
Right.
it's so good for you, and it's something that I use a lot with my clients, and they've been seeing a really big change in their health.
Tell me the name again, because I think that was fun.
Yeah, it's called Force of Nature.
Yes. I mean, that's
Amazing.
amazing.
Yeah, they're great.
So where can our listeners get more information about you and our work and your work?
Yes. So we are talking about this prior to me launching my rebrand, but by the time this releases, my rebrand will be launched. So it'll be chefjodining.com. And it'll also be Chef Jo Dining on IG. Hopefully that all lines up. But if you tag me, I think in the post, maybe my name will change once I update it. But yeah, you can find me on there. I don't have a Twitter or anything like that. I feel like social media is really hard for me to keep up with. Like there's a lot of juggling that goes on behind the scenes that I just can't keep up with, like posting all the time, which I know I need to, but it's hard. So yeah, Instagram, my website, and on my website I have an inquiry form. That's probably the easiest way to get in touch with me if you're interested in hiring me for anything.
Well, a big thank you to our guest today, Chef Jo. Thank you for sharing such valuable insights about her love for food that nourishes our soul and the inspiration behind her craft. To our listeners, thank you for tuning in. Until next time, keep savoring the flavors of success and stay hungry for more stories from the leaders and innovators in the culinary world.
Thank you for having me. My name is Chef Jo Garcia, and you're listening to Hustle and Heart.